with coverage you can count on. This is the Erie News NOWCAST.
Good evening, I'm Haley Potter. Thanks for joining us for tonight's edition of the Erie News NOWCAST. Fallen veterans are honored with ceremonies all over the U.S. this Memorial Day, including right here in our area. A beautiful tribute to service members this afternoon at Erie's Veteran Memorial Park at 26th and State Street. Many people came out to show respect to service members who made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. This is the first time since the pandemic that the ceremony took place. Last year, organizers didn't feel comfortable having this event right in the middle of the pandemic.
After 15 months of living under the threat of COVID and luckily being fully vaccinated and being able to be out in public again is just, it's liberating. That's all I can tell you.
What a nice way to honor our veterans. And this Memorial Day, an Erie woman is honoring her father and his time spent fighting in Europe during World War II. Ginny Sivak's father, Joseph, fought overseas during his time. He wrote letters to his sister and her family. Years later, Ginny wanted to do something to preserve the letters. So over the course of several years, she transcribed all the letters and organized them into a book. She learned so much about her father and his time spent fighting for our country. She just wishes he was still here to share it with him.
I think I would just tell him how much I appreciate all that he did, not just for our family, but for this country and those that served with him.
And her advice is if you have letters in storage, take them out because you never know what stories you will find. New tonight, many families who have loved ones buried at Lakeside Cemetery are frustrated because of a lack of upkeep. Here's a look at what I saw when I was there this afternoon. The grass is high, there are weeds around the plots, and some tombstones are completely covered in dead grass. Families spent the day pulling weeds, trimming grass, and picking up trash around their family's gravesite on Memorial Day, a day dedicated to honoring those who lost their lives, which made some people I spoke to even more frustrated. They tell us it's a disgrace to those who fought for our country.
It's an insult to them. I mean, is this any way to treat them? I mean, you know, for what they did for us, our freedom?
It's sacrilegious to do this on this day in particular.
It breaks my heart. It's very sad.
We reached out to Lakeside Cemetery and haven't heard anything back yet, but I'll have the full story tonight on Erie News Now at 11 o'clock. It's been 36 years since deadly tornadoes swept the region, devastating parts of Albion. May 31st, 1985, the F4 tornado killed 12 people, injured over 80 more, and caused over $25 million in damage. Our Mike Ruzzi was one of the first reporters on the scene when those tornadoes hit. He's returned to that very spot where destruction hit, and he has the story for us.
Kidney injuries, back injuries. It was a carnage. It's like a war.
One of the first warnings went out just after 5 p.m. The tornado was sighted by a state police officer near Pennside, just south of Albion.
I couldn't imagine being there or with these F4 tornadoes that moved on through. It would be fascinating to see how Mother Nature has regrown then, but tornadoes are extremely dangerous, and it shows you that, and they can come at a moment's notice sometimes.
Albion native Jennifer Pavolko was just 11 years old when the tornado hit her hometown. Her uncle was killed just blocks away while at work.
I know that there were 3 people in J&A Auto at the time, and from what I've been told, the other 2 people, it was a cashier and another customer, and they jumped one way and they came out completely fine, and he jumped the other way and the wall collapsed on him.
Former WIC reporter Frank Rizzone was anchoring the 7 p.m. edition of Hotline News. Frank was also a volunteer firefighter.
It was shock. I mean, I've never in my life seen anything like that. I hope I never ever have to see it again. But it was just total devastation. It just looked like that. It steamrolled right down through the city of Albion.
The legendary Vance McBride was our first reporter on the scene. I joined Vance later that evening. And 36 years later, the incredible images remain crystal clear.
Like a giant would crush them with his hands and throw them down. There was nothing left. And block after block. And the look of shock on people's faces.
There was this feeling, very big feeling of community and just wanting to help one another. And we all just sort of grieved together.
Thank you, Mike. It's a day of celebration for local businesses as the state lifted all capacity restrictions at 12:01 this morning. That means restaurants, gyms, salons, and all other businesses can now open at 100% capacity with no distancing limitations. Staff and management at the Harborview Grill in Harbor Creek say they've been looking forward to this for months. Although masking requirements are still in place for unvaccinated people, business today was the most normal it's been since last March when the pandemic started. Staff says they're breathing easier again. They're no longer worried about shutdowns and layoffs, and they can look forward to steady work all summer long.
It is very exciting to know that business is going to be okay. You don't have to worry about, okay, well, you're going to be laid off because of what's going on. It's not. It just feels good to, just wake up and do what you do best.
We have the details on the restrictions lifted and what guidelines remain in place on our website, erienewsnow.com. Meanwhile, despite the lift in restrictions, many places continue to struggle finding workers. EMSI, a labor market research firm in Idaho, found the lack of workers is a precursor to a long-term labor drought, which is being called a sandsdemic, meaning without people. The report found declining fertility rates mixed with baby boomers leaving the workforce has led to a demographic drought. Janet Anderson of Northwest Pennsylvania Job Connect says it's an issue job placement agencies have been noticing for years now, so they're now looking at several policy changes to address it.
I think you're going to see from the federal government all the way to more local government incentives and ideas that will come out to encourage people to automate, to encourage people to go back to work and stay at work, to encourage retirees to stay in the workforce longer.
According to the report, a total of 3.2 million baby boomers retired in 2020 compared to 1.5 million the previous year. Thanks for joining us for the Erie News Nowcast. Join us for our next news at 10 p.m. on the CW and 11 p.m. on WICU and WSEE. Have a great night.